If you're like me, you might be wanting some income from your portfolio, but still wanting some Bitcoin exposure. Today, we're going to be looking at BTCI and comparing it to Bitcoin and seeing which one makes sense to hold just from an income and from a portfolio perspective. We're going to be comparing these two and seeing which one you can actually withdraw more and hold a good portfolio balance. But as usual, none of this is financial advice. I'm definitely not a financial advisor.
Knowledge.
Now, if you haven't been to my channel before, you may know I don't like covered call funds. Definitely check out this video right here, why you shouldn't invest in covered call ETFs. Made this about a year ago, comparing QYLD, Tesla, and most of these things really underperform compared just to holding the asset you want and just selling portions of it as you go, because we know covered calls limit your upside. So today, we're going to look at the BTCI NEOS fund. We're on Portfolio Visualizer. We're going to backtest a portfolio of BTCI and Bitcoin and see which ones make sense. So let's just hop into it. We're going to do month over month. It says BTCI's inception. And we're going to start with $10,000 and do a monthly 2% withdrawal. We're doing that because 2 times 12 is 24. Close enough to their distribution rate about what you'd get. So we're going to get 24% back per year from our investment, from our initial investment. And we're going to reinvest the leftover dividends, comparing BTC and BTCI. So let's do this from the BTCI inception and see which one would outperform. Now, if we scroll down, you can see the green, which is just the Bitcoin portfolio 2, outperforms BTCI by a decent amount, right? So just holding Bitcoin, not having complicated strategy, not paying expense ratio, since inception of BTCI has outperformed and you're still getting 24% back, and you're actually still up a decent amount, right? You're up over $2,244 by this amount by investing in $10,000 into Bitcoin on October 31st, 2024. So when you look at this, you may even question why own BTCI if Bitcoin's just going to outperform. We definitely know this by this chart. This is with dividends reinvested. BTCI is the candlestick. BTC is the blue. You can see it's outperformed. And with no dividends reinvested, of course, BTC is going to fare a lot better. So why even own BTCI if BTC is just going to make more sense if it's going to outperform in a market? But this is looking at since inception, and of course that's when Bitcoin had a really nice pump. It went over about like 60% in a relatively short period of time, and we know with covered calls that's going to limit to the upside. But what if we do when Bitcoin has kind of topped out? So if we look around here since like January, right, we could do January when Bitcoin really hasn't done much, guys. It's really back to where it started since last January. It's actually a little bit below. So if we start that period, a choppy downwards market, which one is going to fare best? Let's start with 2025 January. We're withdrawing a fixed percentage, 2% monthly still, and let's see what happens. We can see now there's actually a difference. BTCI portfolio 1, the purple, is outperforming Bitcoin now. Why? Because the covered calls are making up for that lack of growth. Bitcoin hasn't done much, right? So with BTCI and a choppy, slightly downward market, actually outperforms. Now, of course, both portfolios are down. BTCI isn't down that much with a 2% annual withdrawal still. So this is really amazing to actually see backtested results that BTCI can outperform in a downward choppy market, even with most of the dividends taken out. This is 24%, so you have about 3% left over reinvested, and this is outperforming Bitcoin. But not only that, we have to remember BTCI is tax efficient, right? So if we go over here, 98% of the distributions are return of capital. That means only 2% is taxed as net investment income. So you're paying 2% taxes, and this fluctuates month to month. October, this is for October's, was 98, other times it's 93. So it's extremely tax efficient compared to if I was selling Bitcoin each time, if it was long-term capital gains, I'd be paying long-term capital gains tax and then state income tax on top of that in the US. So this can make sense, BTCI, from a tax efficient perspective. If Bitcoin's going to be a choppy consolidation period, it makes sense from that perspective. From a growth perspective, definitely not, because you can definitely see Bitcoin up 53%, BTCI up 6%, and it still lags with dividends reinvested. So it really depends on if you want purely income, what type of market do you think we're going to be in? From a tax efficient perspective, I think BTCI can have a case, which is why I'm slowly accumulating this. Despite other periods owning just Bitcoin and selling 2%, can outperform. So the real question is BTCI right for you? You really have to answer a question. Do you want portfolio growth? And for portfolio growth, that makes sense for most people, in my opinion. If you want portfolio growth, I think Bitcoin is a better shot. Why? Because you need to grow the portfolio. If I'm putting in 10K into BTCI, let's say, that's 28%, I'm getting $2,800 per year. Great, awesome. I'm not going to live off that. That may pay for some subscriptions or something, but it's nothing crazy. If I have 100K into BTCI, that's 25 grand. That's going to cover a mortgage. That may be some real income, real meaningful income. Until you're at that point, I think it makes more sense to invest in a growing asset without limited upside because of covered calls. If you have enough money and you want income, BTCI can make sense. I think it does have a case, especially with the taxes, the return of capital, and it can outperform in a bear market even with withdrawals. So I think that's going to need to be your question. Do I need income or do I need portfolio growth? I can't answer that for you. For me, I'm pretty satisfied with my portfolio. I wanted to start investing into BTCI so I can start gaining some gains. And also, if it is a downward market, BTCI is probably going to outperform Bitcoin because it has that covered call buffer to still gain me some gains with high tax efficiency. So keep these in mind if you're going to look into it. Definitely don't buy into all dividend traps. I really highlight in this video. Most of these are scams. A lot of the yield max are scams. Most of these covered call funds really don't make sense. I really do respect the NEOS team. I think they have some great ETFs, ones that may actually make sense from an income perspective. If you want to learn more about BTCI, check out this video right here where I do a deep dive. Check out this video where I also compare 3 funds, BTCI, YBTC, and BCCC, and compare which one makes the most sense from an income perspective fund. Have a great day, guys. God bless. Peace.